Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deeply personal, almost cinematic journey into the psychology of what's called the father wound. We're going to unravel this hidden psychological pattern that you, or maybe someone you know, might have literally carried for an entire lifetime. We'll look at exactly how an absent father shapes your identity, your self-worth, and fundamentally, pretty much every relationship you're ever going to have. So let's just dive right in and decode this hidden framework.
Think about this for a second. You've been looking for his approval in every single person you have ever loved. It's a pretty shocking reality, right? But you probably never even realized that this hidden motivation was the invisible hand driving your romantic choices. You probably thought you were just navigating life and love like everyone else, but actually, you were on this subconscious mission, totally driven by a hunger for approval you just never got. So what exactly is this concept? Well, the father wound is this profound psychological injury caused by a father who is either absent, emotionally unavailable, or just outright rejecting. But here's the absolute crucial part to understand. It permanently shapes your identity and your self-worth. This isn't just, some sad memory from childhood. It's a foundational blueprint. This specific, early injury fundamentally alters the entire lens through which you view your own value in the world. And at the true core of this wound is a truly devastating belief. You believed you were the problem. The tragedy here isn't just that a father failed to be a father, or even that he left. The real psychological damage happens because a child's brain just literally cannot process the failures of an adult. So what does a kid do? They internalize that absence, that rejection, as a massive personal failure. You believed it was because of something wrong with you. You genuinely thought that if you were just, quieter, smarter, or simply better, that he would have stayed and loved you.
Now, we really need to break down how this absence actually looks in the real world, because there are two ways it happens. Physical absence is pretty straightforward, right? He left the home, he's simply not there. But emotional absence, that means he stayed. He was physically in the house, but he rejected you or was just entirely emotionally unavailable. Just think about the agonizing confusion of that dynamic for a minute. Having a father sitting right there in the exact same room as you, yet he completely refuses to actually be present with you.
And the agonizing reality of that emotional absence is that it turns into a daily, ongoing experience of constant rejection. Believe it or not, it's actually often much more damaging than physical absence. Why? Well, because the physical proximity actually magnifies the rejection. You're sitting right near the source of love, but you're blocked from receiving it every single day. It's a repetitive injury that teaches a child, hey, even when someone is right next to you, you are still unseen and completely unworthy of connection.
So how exactly does this childhood framework translate into your adult life? Well, it essentially acts as a mirror to our most painful, self-sabotaging patterns. It echoes directly into your adult relationships. It shows up as this constant, exhausting search for approval from others. It manifests as a repetitive pattern of picking emotionally unavailable partners. It creates this absolute inability to trust that love will actually stay, which of course leads to intense anxiety. And finally, it leaves you with this compulsive need to literally earn love, rather than just naturally receiving it.
Let's actually walk through the mechanics of how that painful cycle plays out, because it subconsciously forces you to repeatedly recreate that original childhood trauma. Okay, step 1, you seek external validation to fill the void. Step 2, driven by that unhealed wound, you subconsciously choose an emotionally unavailable partner simply because that dynamic feels like home. Step 3, you try to earn their love, attempting to finally succeed where you felt you failed as a kid. And step 4, because they're unavailable, you inevitably experience that super familiar rejection all over again. It's just a closed loop of heartbreak.
Now you might be wondering, does this look the exact same for everyone? Well, not entirely. While the root injury, that internalized failure, is exactly the same, society and psychology often dictate really different coping mechanisms for boys and girls. Boys might externalize the pain, maybe mirroring the emotional unavailability they grew up with, or struggling with authority and anger. Girls, on the other hand, might internalize it through their romantic relationship dynamics, often desperately seeking validation from men to basically rewrite their history. Understanding these divergent paths is absolutely key to recognizing the wound, both in ourselves and in the people around us.
But beneath all those coping mechanisms, there's this darker emotional undercurrent. It's a silent, internalized, totally unexpressed rage that just never had a safe place to go. Think about it. A child cannot safely express fury at the giant adult they're supposed to depend on for survival. That anger literally has zero safe outlet. So what happens? It gets swallowed, it turns inward, and often transforms into depression, anxiety, or this deeply critical inner voice that lasts well into adulthood. And right alongside that rage, there is a very specific, deeply confusing type of sadness. It's the profound pain of grieving a ghost who is technically still breathing. Mourning the total loss of a relationship with a father who is still alive carries such a unique, heavy weight. Because, there's no funeral for this kind of loss, there's no closure. It's this ambiguous grief, forcing you to mourn a bond that you desperately needed, all while the person who denied it to you is still just walking around in the world.
So, I really want you to pause for a moment. Pull all of your relationship failures, all of your intense desires to be chosen, and all of your people-pleasing habits into one startling focal point and just ask yourself, who are you really looking for? When you are desperately trying to get a partner, a boss, or a friend to validate your worth, who are you actually speaking to in your own mind?
The truth is, you are not looking for love. You are looking for him. It's a liberating, yet incredibly painful recognition that really ties this entire journey together. You've basically been trying to solve a childhood mystery in the bodies of adult strangers. But hey, once you see this pattern, you really can't unsee it. And that awareness is the very first step toward breaking the cycle. The archive is open. Make sure to subscribe to Dark Archive.